Hi, I'm Jeannie.
And I'm Danny. And we are Beauties and the Podcast.
Welcome back to Beauties and the Podcast. Today we will be breaking down The Reluctant Dragon. It was released June 20th, 1941 by RKO Radio Pictures and was produced by Disney. It was directed by Alfred Werker, and it was 1 hour and 14 minutes long. This movie is about a man who wants to show Disney a children's book, and he likes it so much that he wants it turned into a movie. On the way to see Walt, he is shown around all the various departments in the animation studios, and we see places like the painting department, the sound department, a storyboard department, and much more. Most of the animators shown in the film were actually actors hired to portray animators, but there are some animators and actors and actresses that really did work with Disney. During the time the movie was released, showing happy animators was actually during a time they were on strike. The strikers frequently picketed theaters showing the film, sometimes holding up a large cardboard sign depicting Walt Disney as a dragon, labeled The Reluctant Disney. Strikers picketed the film's premiere with signs that attacked Disney for unfair business practices, low pay, lack of recognition, and favoritism. At one theater, sympathizers paraded down the street wearing a dragon costume bearing the legend, The Reluctant Disney.
Disney employees also hampered the shooting of this film by ruining their first day's work because nobody had ever witnessed a film being made, so they were all pressed up against the windows watching what was going on outside, so they ruined an entire day's work.
That's crazy.
It is.
They're like, what's happening there?
Yeah.
No recollection of destroying things. Hilarious.
Nope, there's no camera there. We're not filming right now.
Nope, not at all. Critics and audiences were put off by the fact that this film was not as animated as Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs or Pinocchio. That's what they were expecting, but that is not this type of movie. The Reluctant Dragon cost $600,000 to make and returned $960,000, with $460,000 being generated in the U.S. and Canada alone. The first 20 minutes of this movie is in black and white, and the rest, about 50 minutes, is in Technicolor. Most of this movie is live action, but there are 4 short animated segments inserted throughout. Casey Jr., which is in black and white, Baby Weems, which is in Technicolor, Goofy's How to Ride a Horse, also in Technicolor, and The Reluctant Dragon, which is in Technicolor.
There are scenes from the live action part that were also used in the featurette called How to Speak Atlantean, which is one of the bonus features for the 2002 Disney DVD release of Atlantis: The Lost Empire.
Which is so cool. Like,
yeah.
That movie came out in what, like the 90s? When did Atlantis?
Mid-90s?
Mid-90s?
I think.
That's like a huge gap that they went back and took from this movie in, you know, in the 1940s.
Oh, no, it actually came out in 01.
Okay. But still, that's a huge gap. They're like, what should we add to this movie?
Yeah.
Let's go back to 1941.
Yeah.
Very interesting. All right, ready for the movie breakdown?
Yeah, let's have it.
Okay, so before the movie starts, there is an explanation on why the picture was made. It was made to answer the many requests to show the backstage life of animated cartoons, and any resemblance to a regular motion picture is purely coincidental. We open up at the first scene, and it is a close-up of the children's book showing a silhouetted dragon, boy, and knight, which we now know as The Reluctant Dragon, written by Kenneth Grahame. He wrote the book in 1898, excuse me.
Kenneth, it's an old book.
It's a very old book. When I saw that, I was like, 18 what?
That's a very old book to just kind of, hey, let's do a movie on this.
Which, why are we surprised by this? How many Disney movies did he look back to all these old German and, like, European authors for Cinderella and Snow White.
I wonder because he was such a family man, if this was like one of the stories his mother would read to him.
Oh, that would be cute. Especially with, okay, so side note, when I first started watching this movie, I was like, is that his mom reading him the book? Is that like a 30, 40-year-old man still living with his mother and she's reading him the book while he's in the pool? I was very confused.
I was confused because...
And then he was like, I married you, didn't I? I was like, oh, that's his wife.
I was very confused. I look and I'm like, there's a grown man in the pool.
In like almost a full like outfit. It's not just like bathing suit bottom.
Shooting things with...
I know. It's so
whatever
good.
Type of gun, like
we'll get to it. It was so funny.
Oh my goodness! I'm like,
I was very confused at first. Anyway, so Kenneth Grahame was a Scottish writer, and he's most famous for *The Wind in the Willows*, written in 1908.
Never heard of it.
Neither have I. And one of the classics of children's literature. Obviously, not that classic because neither of us know about it. Sorry. He also wrote *The Reluctant Dragon*, which we talked about.
Still never heard of it until now.
And neither of us knew about it until now. Both books were later adapted for stage and film. Ooh, you know what we should try to do, which is not related totally to Disney, but we should watch *The Wind in the Willows* if it was also adapted to film and see how that goes, because that would be interesting. The Disney films, *The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad*, which we have heard of, and *The Reluctant Dragon* are other adaptations.
Oh, it is a film.
Yeah, I just read that. Did you not listen to
it? It came out
me?
in 2006, so it should be pretty good.
Oh, and who's it by? Obviously not Disney, or I don't think it's by Disney. Fox? I don't know. We're looking. The story was originally published as a chapter in his book, Dream Days. The story takes place in Berkshire Downs in Oxfordshire, where the author lived and where, according to the legend, St. George did fight a dragon. In Graham's story, a young boy discovers an eroded, poetry-loving dragon living in the downs above his home. The two become friends, but soon afterwards, the dragon is discovered by the townsfolk, who send for St. George to rid them of it. The boy introduces St. George to the dragon, and the two decide that it would be better for them not to fight. Eventually, they decide to stage a fake joust between the two combats. As they have planned, St. George harmlessly spears the dragon through a shallow fold of skin suggested by the dragon, and the townsfolk rejoices, though not all of them, as some have placed bets on the dragon to win. St. George then proclaims that the dragon is reformed in character, and he assures the townfolk that the dragon is not dangerous, so the dragon is then accepted by the people, which later on when we go over The Reluctant Dragon, we'll talk about similarities and differences, but for the most part, it's similar.
So The Wind in the Willows is actually like a B-rated movie. It's made by Muse Entertainment.
Okay, I've never heard of them. Probably why they're a B-rated movie.
Yeah.
So back to the main movie. The woman reading the story to the man, like we talked about, who is floating in the pool on a big pool float. The woman and the man are husband and wives, which if you've never watched this movie, you have nothing like we did. It is very...
She's reading a children's book to her husband.
Yeah, who's laying on his belly on a float, shooting ducks, like fake ducks. Yep. It looks like he is a child that has special needs or something that lives still at home, or a grown man that never grew up and he lives at home. No. That's her husband, and she's reading to him a child's book in broad daylight, midday, in a pool. No understanding of this, but whatever. Yeah. The man's name is Robert. And while his wife reads to him, he is floating in the pool, shooting wooden ducks with a dart gun. At first, I was like, oh, it's a BB gun. And then when it got a close-up, it shows the actual darts. And I'm like, no, that's a dart gun.
Little suction cup darts.
Yep. And he jokes. What? He's like, no matter which way I aim, I always hit the same duck.
But there's only one. There's like 6 ducks in there, and he's only shooting one.
And a swan. There was a fake swan. I don't know if you saw. It was like a plastic swan in the very back. Like there's the ducks, and then there's a fake swan, like that you would set out so birds don't go in your pool and land because they think someone's already there. Like that kind of thing. I don't understand. It reminded me of like the Three Stooges.
Yes.
Very much so. Yeah. Great comedy for people who love the Three Stooges.
Absolutely.
The whole movie. And
Absolutely.
I did. I liked the movie a lot. All right. So Robert, and I don't think we ever learned the wife's name. I don't recall hearing the wife's name.
No.
So Robert is actually Robert Benchley, who is an American humorist best known for his work as a newspaper columnist and a film actor. And as far as I understood, he is who he is for real.
Yes.
Because at first, I did not know who he was. And everybody at Disney Studios knew who he was.
Yes.
And I was very confused by that because I was like, is this a dream? Like, how does everybody, like how people dream about stuff, that things are actually happening, and then it turns out it's a dream.
Well, I had caught that the wife, when she was like, listen, you need to pitch this to Mr. Disney, I had caught that he had a connection to Disney.
I didn't. I was like, oh yeah, any Joe Blow can just go to Disney Studios.
She had said something like you should use, because he was affiliated with Disney Studios.
Oh, I did not understand that.
It was very brief. It was not that, like, it wasn't as pronounced as other things that were mentioned.
Yeah, I was very confused. Oh, also the gun and the book both belong to the wife's nephew. Did you catch that?
I did not catch that.
Because she suggests, you should take this book to show Disney, and he goes, I can't give that to Disney. That's your nephew's. Just like this gun. I wonder how much he wants for it.
Yes.
And I was like, why do you have either of those things and your nephew's nowhere around?
Yes.
Did he leave them there? I don't know. It's that kind of stick slap, whatever it's called, humor.
Slapstick.
Yeah. Dyslexia. Gotta love it. So it's very funny, but not like, oh my gosh, it's so clever. But if you listen closely, you catch some of those things. It's pretty funny. Mm-hmm. His wife suggests that he likes the story so much he should take it to Walt Disney to be made into a movie. Robert then stands up on
my favorite part.
The float. This is what I'm saying. Three Stooges all day, every day. Stands up on the float because the float has like a bottom to it. It's not. At first, I thought it was like an inner tube.
I think it's got like a netting or something.
Something.
Kind of like, Mama Sue's float
had, and I have to tell you more about that later. The dog really likes it. Just saying. So he stands up on it, and he's basically refusing to go. He thinks it is not going to, like, why am I doing that? I'm not going to Disney. I refuse. And as he's standing his ground, and I say that lightly, he falls flat through, like, boom, like the plastic or whatever netting it is breaks. He falls through the float into the pool.
Yep, best part.
He comes back up, and this is also, I couldn't put the connection of what movie, but the sound of it reminded me of another Disney movie. I have to think about it for a little longer. As he talks, there's animated bubbles.
Bubbles, like Pinocchio.
Is that what it is?
When Pinocchio was talking and Jimmy Cricket were talking underwater, they had the bubbles floating.
I was like, what movie is this? That
Pinocchio.
sounds exact. Thank you.
Pinocchio.
Appreciate that. He's talking, but they've dubbed over his voice, so it's more like automated, robotic.
Yeah, he sounds like he's underwater trying to talk with like the glugs of
yes,
bubbles.
and the bubbles are obviously animated. Okay.
Yeah, they use the Pinocchio technology for that.
Yeah, awesome. And then the movie cut. So he's saying, no, there is no way I'm going. Cut. Movie. Robert and wife driving to Walt Disney's new studios in Burbank, California. We know who wears the pants. It is not him. Just saying. Which, again, hilarious. That cut scene just gives to the humor of it. So they arrive at the studio, and the guard asks them why are they there, and if they have an appointment. They tell him why they're there, and the security guard goes to give him a pass. And Robert tells him, get out of the car. He thinks she's going to go park the car. Oh, no.
She's leaving.
She's like, I got shopping to do. Here's the book. Have fun.
Yep, and leaves.
And first of all, thought she was going to run over that guy that she was backing up. That guy was very close to her car.
And they weren't even feared. Like, there was no fear. They continued walking, didn't even faze them that there's a car backing out, let alone it's a woman driving.
And she's like, okay, he's going to check. That's good enough for me. You're sure going to get in.
Yeah, and you're trusting your husband.
What if they were like, sorry, mister, you're not coming in today?
Or she's trusting him with, listen, this is what I want you to do. You've been negative with this all day. Yeah, I'm going to leave you here and trust that you're going to do what I want, even though all morning you've been fighting me.
Yes, and how when the guard comes up to him and is like, hi, sir, what's your name? He's like, the reluctant dragon. I mean, Disney. I mean, like, he's clearly not capable to figure out what's going on.
Yes.
So, yes, quite funny. Oh, my gosh. So, she leaves to go shopping. Robert walks towards the direction. So, the guard comes back, says, here's your pass. And he's like, a pass? Turns around, going the opposite direction. Again, not very reliable source.
So clueless.
The guard tells him, no, you need to go this way to find Walt. And that's when it cuts to the scene where we see the sign. And it says Mickey Avenue and Dopey Drive.
Yep.
This signpost was built specifically for the movie. It was supposed to be removed afterwards, but it wasn't, and it is still there at the Disney Studios today, which is pretty cool.
That is fantastic.
I like it. It's cute. A guy named Humphrey.
Oh, God, Humphrey.
Which I didn't catch his name until almost the end of the movie. And when I caught it, it was when he was like, they were like, who's giving you the tour? Is it Humphrey? He goes, of course that's his name.
Yes.
That's when I was like, his name's Humphrey.
Yeah,
so funny.
Humphrey. This guy.
Played by Buddy Pepper, was an American pianist, songwriter, arranger, and actor.
You can tell he's a pianist.
Shows up to take Robert to see Disney. He is spouting out facts. The guard probably called and was like, hey, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Somebody needs to guide him.
That's what I figured, because he shows up and he knew the guy's name. He knew exactly where he needed to go. And he's like, yep, I will take you there. Just follow me.
This is my assignment.
Yes.
Yeah. So he takes takes Robert to go see Disney. I'm Robert now. I don't know what my name is. He is spouting out facts about the studio grounds and buildings, like what the ground is made of, what rock, and how many air conditioners, and worthless information that Robert could care less about. Obviously, he's bored and is distracted by the buildings he's walking by. And as he notices that Humphrey doesn't pay attention to what he's doing,
dumbass,
he takes a little sidetrack on towards a building.
So funny. And Humphrey's still going on about grass and rocks and everything else. He's still talking to himself, but he doesn't know he's talking to himself.
Yeah. So Robert walks up to the art studio first. He is there, and it is there that you see when he walks in Pinocchio, a puppet of Pinocchio, hanging on the wall. And Pinocchio at this time was made the year before. What else do you see on the walls, Jeannie?
Let's see. There's also drawings of, there's Bambi, there's Thumper, there's some Fantasia creatures. There's drawings of the centaurs.
There's a sculpture that looks possibly like Zeus when he first comes in.
Yeah.
It's hard to see.
Yep, it's hard to scan it on that, especially since it's a black and white right now.
Oh, yes. Right now we're in black and white.
To Technicolor. This is completely black and white.
Yep.
And then they're drawing things.
Oh, yeah, my favorite. So he walks in, he trips and falls over
so
stuff.
Funny. Yeah, because he's watching what they're doing.
He's not paying attention.
And, trying to eavesdrop over all these people that are drawing something. And the guy is like, oh, yeah, make sure you got the curvature right. Make sure you get, the
he's
legs
directing.
right.
Because what Disney would do is he would have a bunch of artisans come in and draw and have like a model and draw what their view of a subject was. And then they would look and decide what way they wanted to go.
He's describing like what they need to be drawing at this point is like he's drawing a lady. Like, of course.
And Robert,
so he's trying to eavesdrop to see what they're drawing because the way that this guy is describing the curvature and the leg,
he's thinking he's going to get a look.
And the hip, he thinks he's going to get a look
for a woman. So when he walks into the art studio, he trips over a bunch of stuff, and then he gets picked up, and he is thinking, because of how the guy is describing
the
artist.
Whatever the artist is having everybody draw, he's describing, like, make sure you get the curvature and the leg and their thigh or whatever. So he thinks he's going to see a woman.
It's so funny because you could tell because he's like, before he goes into the building. So basically, Robert is another Jiminy Cricket.
Yes.
He's a little perv.
Oh yeah.
Before he even goes into the building, he asks the guy outside of the building, is this where they have models that they draw?
Yes.
And the guy was like, yeah, go on in and check it out. And he's like, oh, I can't. I have an appointment with Disney.
Yes.
And then the guy leaves and he goes, and walks into the building.
Sneaks into the building.
And then he gets picked up by that guy, and the guy he's like, oh, do you draw in here? And he goes, yeah, we're drawing this, we're drawing, and she's right there. Yep. And his face goes, oh, and like looks around the corner, but it's not a lady.
It's an elephant.
Because they are working on how to draw Dumbo.
Yep.
Which is hilarious. And back when he was in the pool, he also makes a comment about his wife. I can't remember exactly what it is, but that was also funny, where she was like, yeah, just do what I ask you to do. And he goes, yeah, I did when I married you, and look what happened. Like, he says it under his breath. It's really funny. And he says a few more comments and things later on, which we'll catch up on. But yeah, he's a little bit of a perv. So the first artist that they walk up to is Chinese, I believe, lady, some type of Asian artist. We only see like the back of her head, part of her face, so I'm not too sure. But she is drawing an elephant that looks Chinese. Like, it has a Chinese hat, and I believe if I am not imagining this, the music was kind of changed.
It was a little Asian.
A little bit.
It was a little Asian. And so there is, I think, 2 different types of elephants that we've seen being drawn, and the music changed with both of them.
Okay.
I believe.
All right. I only caught the first because I was like, wow, way to go, Disney. You're like, here's the Asian artist drawing the Asian Chinese whatever elephant with the Asian music. And when he leaves, is like, speaks in Chinese and goes, that's how you say goodbye in Chinese. And I'm just like,
there was a few little racist scenes in this, especially when we get further into it with the baby Weems.
Yes. But
yes.
So after this movie, I was looking up stuff for Dumbo because they have so much Dumbo stuff in this film, because that's the movie they were working on.
Yeah.
And I found out that apparently Dumbo is an African-inspired elephant. That is why he has such large ears.
Oh.
But the rest of the elephants in the circus are actually Asian or Chinese elephants that have smaller stature, smaller ears, and that's why he stood out so much to them, because he wasn't the same type of elephant.
That's interesting.
So the fact that with her drawing the Asian elephant amongst the rest of the different, probably African or some type of variety elephant was just interesting to me with that little info.
Yeah, it was kind of like foreshadowing of
Yes.
what was to come.
Yeah. So Robert continues, and he acts like
He's so pompous here.
know it all.
Like the way he's talking about this elephant. The elephant like knows. Like the elephant.
Because he's like, oh, I love dumb elephants.
Yeah, and the elephant just looks at him, and you can tell that this elephant knows.
Yeah, she's like, oh, an elephant has the brain of, what was it, like a walnut or something?
Yeah, it was impressive on how an animal that big could have a brain the size of a walnut.
Yeah, and as soon as the guy was like, what do you think of our drawings? All of a sudden he like stands up, like puffed out chest, and he's like, da-da-da-da-da, like total know-it-all.
Yeah, so pompous.
Mm-hmm.
And then the lady gives him a photo because he's talking horrible about this poor elephant, and the lady just hands him a photo because she drew an elephant with Robert's face on it. And it was so great. It was like the perfect little right back at you.
Yeah, as soon as he started talking, it like pans over to this lady, and she's like sketching mad, like
it's staring
so
at
fast.
him.
And he's like, oh no, I don't mind dumb elephants. I love dumb elephants. Can I borrow this? Thank you. And as soon as he takes it, it's him.
Yep. Great. And then the elephant, of course, makes its cry, and poor elephant.
And then that scene, you could see more detailed what's drawn on the wall with Bambi and Thumper and the Fantasia centaurs, things like that. So Robert leaves the art studio and goes to another room where they're practicing music, mostly likely for Mickey's Grand Opera is what I researched. I've never seen Mickey's Grand Opera, so I have no reference, but that's what it said.
Well, and we can also take into consideration that after looking at how many Disney movies there are, we've only seen maybe a quarter of what's actually out there. Maybe, and that's pushing it. I think that's pushing it a little. Because there are so many out there that we haven't even heard of.
Yeah.
Most of them. And this was one of them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And this movie turned out to be awesome.
Yeah, this is a fantastic movie.
So we see the room with a band playing. Yep. He comes and he sits down.
It's fantastic. Well, and he was just looking through the door. There's a guy that came up behind him that tapped on his shoulder to get in, and then he just kind of weaseled his way in the door.
He follows him in, and he sits next to him.
Yeah.
And then a woman comes in.
Oh, my goodness.
An older woman. And she goes up to the mic.
She, no offense, she's got the face of a parrot.
Well, that's very fitting.
It's very fitting. She's got the face of a parrot.
And why is it fitting, Jeannie? That her face looks like a bird face.
So as the music is playing, we see there are two people at the mic. One is the voice for Donald Duck,
which is the man that came in before.
No, actually, oh yeah, yep, it was, because he sat down then got back up. Yep. And the second with the lady, that is the duck, or the she's got a bird face. That is Clara Cluck.
So she doesn't sing like a woman.
She sings like a duck.
A hen.
Or a hen. Yes.
And he sings like Donald Duck.
Donald Duck. Yeah, that he is the voice of Donald Duck, which is phenomenal that the voice of Donald Duck is there. And we're watching them, put the soundtrack together.
When I watched this, I didn't know any of this. Like, when I heard him, I was like, hey, he sounds like Donald Duck.
Yes.
And then I researched, and I was like, who's that guy? And
Donald
it turns
Duck.
out to be one of the voices who did Donald Duck.
Yeah.
Like, he was one of the first.
Yeah, so I had, when I was taking notes on this film, I'm like, oh, is this the real Donald Duck? Like, is this so-and-so? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, after I answered about two of the questions, I'm like, we're just going to take this as is because this is an actual like these people are these people.
Yeah, well, that's where we talked about earlier. Some of them were hired, like the actresses to portray animators, actors, actresses. But there are a few, like this woman, Ann Mann, who are legit employed by Disney.
Yeah, it is phenomenal. And she seems like she was just a phenomenal person. She's cracking
so
up.
Cute.
Her face is just...
Yeah, she's so sweet, though.
She is. I love her. I mean, getting to watch a little snippet of her in here was awesome.
Yeah, so I researched, and she, her name was Florence Gill. Is that correct?
Yep, Florence Gill.
She was an English-American actress and voice actress. In Walt Disney's animated films, Gill made a specialty for 20 years of playing hens, including Clara Cluck. So 20 years she was a hen.
It fit her, and she did so well.
When she first opened her mouth, I'm like, this is not coming out of her mouth.
Right.
Like, I thought it was dubbed in.
Yeah, it was very confusing.
And then when I researched, I was like, oh, no, that's her voice.
Yeah. Well, when I figured it out, I think it was after they were done with like their little musical segment, and Robert is asking them for tips for a dragon, and she's just she's watching this and trying to help them out, and she did her little voice there, and I'm like, that's not a dub, like that's really her, like she's phenomenal.
It's so good that it sounds fake.
Yeah,
it's incredible. So if you don't know who Clara Cluck is, she was a wise little hen, and she played Clara Cluck on the radio in 1938 on a radio show called the Mickey Mouse Theater of the Air, which I did not know was a thing.
Me neither.
So he's not only done TV, movie, he's also done like radio, like had a radio show.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then the man who does Donald Duck, his name is Clarence Nash. He's an American voice actor, and like we said, he's best known for his Donald Duck voice.
The first Donald Duck.
And he tries to teach Robert, because Robert is so excited about it.
He tells him to like put this little air pocket in his cheek.
Yeah, and then think like a duck.
Think like a duck.
So
with
easy.
This air pocket, and it's and Robert does it pretty good.
Okay, so that's my question. Do you think he actually did it, or do you think he was faking it? Because you cannot see Clarence Nash on the screen when Robert does it. So do you think he was doing it off scene?
And they dubbed it in?
Yes.
That could be.
Because that was so good and so quick. And I'm sorry, I can't do it.
I would say probably just because there was it was seamless.
Yeah.
Like, he tells him this is how you do it, and all of a sudden he's doing it. It was very seamless.
Yeah. I don't feel...
So possibly...
I don't know. Because I also thought, she wasn't talking like a chicken, but she was. So Florence and Nash, like Jeannie was talking about, help him figure out what a dragon sounds like. Because Robert's like, do you know what a dragon sounds like? Yep. And then he gets on all... Okay, this is my problem. What does a dragon sound like? Well, what do you think a dragon sounds like? Oh, I think he's on all fours. What part of that is a voice? Yeah. And dragons, typically, if they're going to blow fire or do anything, they're not going to be on all fours. But let's get down on all fours. Being in a certain position
how
gives
they
you a
sound.
Voice. Oh my gosh. Again, a Robertism. It's so Robert.
So awesome.
So as he's on all four, Humphrey finds him. And he's like, oh, I was looking for you. No.
Humphrey.
So Humphrey tries to take Robert to Disney again. Doesn't last long.
Nope, not at all.
Because he soon sidetracks to a new room, the sound effect room, which if I had a job at Disney Studios during this time period, it 100% would be the sound effects. I adore that. The fact that things that they use you would never think were things that
Cal
made the
enjoyed
sound.
this.
Oh, I
Cal
loved
enjoyed
it
this so much.
Well, yeah, because Cal and I are same
Cal's
person.
very much. How does it work? Yeah. So this one is very interesting.
It's so cool.
How sound effects were made, and I mean, even up to this day, there are TV shows that they will add in sounds that are the actual sound, but they have to make it louder for the camera to pick up, like doors closing and feet walking.
Yeah.
But back in, this was 1940, 1941, it was so amazing the amount of things and items that they made to make, or they needed to make sound effects.
There's such an artistry to it.
Oh yeah.
Where now, no offense, technology has kind of ruined it.
No, because now everything is on, it's on a board.
They can just click, put in
soundboard.
things. I know.
Yep.
It just loses its artistic ability, I guess. I don't know. Makes me sad. I would have loved being there. Like, I would have loved working in it. So when he walks in the room, he's greeted by a woman named Doris, who demonstrates the sonovokes in the scene. So the thing that she puts up to her throat and her vocal cords is called a sonovokes. Never heard of it. Pretty cool instrument, which she uses to create the train's voice.
Yep. So the train that's in question, it's Casey Jr.
Yep. This is one of...
if you don't know who Casey Jr. is, you're not a Disney fan. Go look up Casey Jr.
You know nothing. Just don't even
Like, I've never seen Dumbo, but I still know who Casey Jr. is.
Right, and his song is so good. And this is the first, like, short.
Yes.
And it's still in black and white. We're still in black and white.
Very much black and white.
Which, I mean, I liked it. I really liked the black and white part of the movie.
Oh, when we get to Technicolor, it was like a whole new world.
It was crazy.
And Cal didn't even notice.
Neither did Mama Sue. I made her stop and rewind, and she goes, wait. Oh my gosh, you're right. I didn't even notice it changed to color.
So we'll get to that in a minute. But
anyway, so the train's voice was taken from Operation Wonderland.
Okay. Yep.
So Doris is played by Frances Guilford, an American actress, and the sound effect, like Jeannie was talking about, is for Casey Jr., which would be fit into Dumbo in 1941, same year, but the next movie.
Yep.
And we get to see all these different things that they made the sound effects for, and how it matches up to the picture animation. So the sound of Sonovox is, it looked to me like a record player that she starts.
Yep.
And it has wires with these, like, almost kind of like headphones, kind of like cups, I don't know, that she places on her vocal cords and just whispers what she's saying or moves her mouth.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it has all these different train recordings, so then it picks it up and makes different train noises. Mm-hmm. That technology blows my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like, how does that even happen? I don't know. Like, I want to research this. It's super cool.
Yeah, and they had anything from cymbals to other machinery. They had, oh goodness.
They had maple syrup.
Yes.
Holders, like containers. The one that you see, like, at a restaurant that has the little, like, you pull the handle and it opens it.
Yeah.
So and they have different, like, liquids in it.
Yeah, and
heights.
So as the song is playing, they have things that are making noises for Casey Jr. Casey Jr.'s a train, if you didn't know. Mm-hmm. It's a train.
Casey Jr. going down the train.
Yeah. If you didn't know that.
Research
again,
it.
If you didn't know
Google
that.
it.
Stop listening and Google Casey Jr. So
you're missing something.
Absolutely. So Casey Jr. is a train. He's the cutest little train.
He's
I love
so
him.
Cute.
So they have, and he has a song. So they're recording the song, and they have all these sound effects. There's birds that are kind of just flying in and out of his little smoke circles and everything. So they have all the sound effects for the metal on metal with the wheels on the railroad. There's a little bit of an issue with the brakes and an oncoming train and the little stick guy. That's an animated stick guy that's like sleeping on the job.
He's the switch to switch the tracks so
Sleeping
they
on
don't
the
crash.
job, and there's a bigger train coming.
And he's like, wake up, switch it, wake up, switch it. The rain, that there's like a rainstorm.
Yep.
They have all the sound effects for that. The boat that he's crossing the bridge, and there's a boat coming, and so like the bridge keeps opening and shutting and opening, shutting, and then Casey goes over and it sinks the boat and turns to what's making the noise, and it's a man shoving his whole face in a bucket of water.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good. And they have two different I wouldn't even know if they're instruments or if they're just made up to make the sound of the train horn and the boat horn. Do you remember that part? Where it's like the boat is this rectangular square, like rectangular big wooden thing, like probably, I don't know, this big, maybe my arms width apart, and he's blowing into it, and it's like a flap. It kind of reminds me of a didgeridoo, but it's not. It's so much like that. Or they have, in the rainstorm, did you notice the two guys that had like balloons, and then they had like a potato sack with a face on it over their head? What the heck was that?
I don't know.
What part of these sound effects did that help? Oh, it's so good. And
no clue.
When Casey at the end, a bridge goes out, they crunch up like a little paper-made bridge for that.
Yeah.
And then he crashes, and they have like this big stack of junk.
Yes, that crashes.
That he pulls.
It's literally garbage. It's like a garbage can with some crates with some other garbage that it crashes down, and that's a sound effect. The paper bridge. I think the paper bridge was Cal cracked up at that because they're just crumpling a paper bridge.
Yep, and that's what the sound of a rail bridge is. Oh, it's so good. And I love how they did it. So it's a short film that you're watching, but you're not watching it like it's the main thing. You're watching some of that. You're watching close-ups of the sound effects that they're making. You're watching a back view of where you're seeing both of it together. It's very well done.
It is absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I loved it so much. So he gets to see all the sound effects, and he, I believe at this point, hears Humphrey calling for him again.
Yeah, and I believe, is this where he sneaks out one of the doors?
Yeah, he's like, I got to go, and keeps moving, goes out in the hallway, hears Humphrey call for him again, opens the janitor's closet
door, and crap comes barreling out, and is like, oh no, just kind of deer in the headlights freezes. Humphrey's still calling him, goes to the next door.
And in that door is where he enters the Technicolor room, the camera room.
We are in this is the rainbow room, right?
No. This is the camera room.
Okay, yes.
Where they have that big camera that's like super tall.
Yep.
And it turns into Technicolor as soon as he crosses the door.
We are in, and it is as simple as The Wizard of Oz.
It gives you that vibe.
It is the exact same, where she's in her house. It is very brown and white, which is not black and white, but we're going to say it's black and white. And she walks outside when the house drops in Munchkin Land, and as soon as she's outside, we're in color. And that's the same. He opens a store, we see him going into this room, and all of a sudden we're in color.
Yeah.
And he looks at the book, and it's yellow, and he looks down at what he's wearing. He's got a red shirt, he's got a blue tie, and all of a sudden everything is in color.
Yeah, and he goes, Technicolor.
Yes. Yeah. And that's when Cal's like, no kidding.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
That is correct. We're in color now. We are no longer in black and white. We are in full vivid color
but
right
it's
here.
So cool. And this is my opinion of why they did this, is up till now, every process doesn't need to be in color
Exactly.
until you add to the Technicolor
Exactly.
part, and then all of a sudden, so it's like the movie's being made almost
Yeah, it's
at
like
the same
a timeline.
process.
Yeah, it's like
process.
a timeline.
Yes, it's so cool.
Yeah, it is absolutely awesome.
So he's in the room, and who does he see again? Doris. And she has now appeared in the camera room.
Yep.
And he asks her she asks him, "Do you remember me?"
Yeah. Which I'm with him. Like, she looks totally
Really?
different. I thought so, yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
Nope.
I was like, no crap, yeah.
I thought she looked a lot younger in black and white, and I thought that the Technicolor had aged her
Really?
a little bit.
I didn't notice that. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to that feature. Like, I
Nope.
just was like, yeah, clearly that's the same person.
No, plus I'm like, okay, this is one of the several girls, because we've seen so many women in the background doing so much other stuff. So I'm like, this is another woman. And when she's like, oh, you don't remember me? And I'm like, there's no way. Yeah, I thought Technicolor aged her.
Oh, no, I didn't notice that.
Yep.
So she says, hey, do you notice me? And he's like, yes. He makes a comment to her then, too, that was kind of pervy, but I can't remember it fully. It was something like he says, oh, are you done with being you're not working for the the railroad anymore?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And she goes, no, I was just on doing it because someone's
She
going
was
to the
filling
dentist.
in. Yeah,
I don't
she was filling in.
And then I think he makes a comment about the color, like, oh, you look so beautiful, or something. Like,
Yeah, he does
however
he does
acts.
make a comment about how different she looks in Technicolor as well.
Yeah, but it gets the perv vibe from me, at least. I don't know. Just, he was too interested. By the way, you're married. Calm down.
Yeah.
Killer.
Your wife is just shopping. She dropped you off, remember?
Yeah. What do you think you can do? Whatever you want. So while he's there, she shows him the camera.
Yes.
And she's like, give me your stuff. Go on up.
Yeah, the camera is tall.
It's so cool.
So tall. So he hands her everything. So he now, in his hand, he has his book, his coat, his hat, and I believe the elephant drawing of him, the elephant with his face on it.
Yes, he does.
So that's what he has. He hands all this stuff to her, goes up this ladder, and is now in this camera.
Yeah, it's like,
it reminds me of something that NASA would have for a telescope.
what are those things called?
Couldn't tell you.
They use them when they're doing construction or painting.
Oh, scaffolding.
Scaffolding,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like that mixed with technology. Like how they climb up and
It reminds me of something NASA would use.
Yeah, it's really
like
cool.
a telescope or something. Yeah.
And there's all these different colors on each of the different levels.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. So
There's a guy at the top,
yep.
and he tells him he can look in it. He puts his hat under the...
Oh my goodness. Yeah, he puts his hat under the thing and it's blurry, and he's like, is it supposed to be blurry? And the guy's like, looks at it, he's like, what? Looks, and it's the guy's head, he's like, oh no.
Move your hat, dingbat.
Yeah.
And when he looks into it, he sees a background. What would you say? The scenery?
So it's an older, very older Disney cartoon background, similar to anything that you would see, like a classic Mickey cartoon.
Yeah. I couldn't tell if it was for Bambi.
This one was not for Bambi.
Okay.
This one you could tell it was very similar to something that you would see in like a Mickey cartoon, like the Little Hurricane. No, the Little Whirlwind. Hurricane. The Little Whirlwind, if you don't know what it is, it's a very classic Mickey cartoon about Mickey and this little whirlwind that's a mini tornado that's tormenting him. It's a great cartoon.
Never seen it.
It's a great cartoon.
Cute.
It's on Disney Plus. But that's very much the vibe that this has, is that it's very much like old Disney.
Got it. And it's all like, it looks like painted on glass.
Yes.
Or...
So we'll see this later, but yeah, most of the cells. So what cells are? The cells are panes of glass that are painted.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I know this is from, like I said to you before, was watching the very ending of Bambi. They have a how-to on how they did Bambi, and it is very much, it's panes of glass that they shift their movement to make certain things move. So for like Bambi, when at the beginning of Bambi, which we'll talk about in a future episode, we're getting there. With Bambi, when you're at the very beginning, when the woods, you're walking through them and you're kind of seeing trees move because the camera is panning. The camera is not panning. The camera is in one location, and it is several layers of glass that are layered on top of each other, and they are moving the glass in various ways to make it look like the camera is panning.
And I'm wondering if the color is, because they have like a pink light, a yellow light, and a blue light on the different levels, if that also plays into that moving.
I think that plays more of like a shadow, like further back, because Bambi, it's very 3D for
that
what a movie is. Yeah, I mean, it's not 3D, but you can tell that, you know, the drawings are painted in a 3D way, so I think the light had played more of an effect onto like the background, what was supposed to be in the background versus what was supposed to be in the foreground, since it's just layers of glass.
Yeah, it's that whole machine looks like camera. It's weird to say it's a camera.
Yeah.
Because it's so big, but that camera is just very unique and nothing I've ever seen before. So he gets done with that, and he's still in the same room, but he goes over to see what they're doing with Donald Duck.
Oh, goodness.
Because he really likes Donald Duck.
Yep.
And the machine that guy's using is similar, where they can move the glass.
Yes.
But instead of glass on glass, it's glass, and then they layer on like a cellophane.
It's like a transparency sheet.
Yeah, painted with Donald Duck.
Yep. So I would assume the same thing that teachers use, the transparency sheets.
Used to use.
Used to use. I would assume that it's very similar to that. So
they show him how Donald Duck works, and he's like, I don't understand it. And who better to explain this to him than
Donald Duck himself. And his face throughout this whole little thing is just typical Donald Duck. Like, you idiot. How can you not understand how I move?
Listen, let me just, work this out for you.
I love him so much.
First you do this.
Yeah, so the guy's been drawing, the guy that is painting Donald has been painting many different Donalds, and Benchley looks at him and he's like, looks the same as the last one. He's like, no, he doesn't. You see in this one, his foot is down, and you see in this one, his foot is up. And then all of a sudden, Donald Duck is animated, and he's like, yeah, my foot is down here, my foot is up here. And all of a sudden, you have an animated Donald Duck that is showing him all the drawings of his leg movement.
And the background is a farm.
Yes. Typical Disney. Typical old school Disney.
And my favorite, Donald Duck starts singing.
Oh my goodness.
Old MacDonald has a farm. I was like, yeah, he does.
Typical Donald. Love Donald. So, in this segment where Donald is explaining how the cells are animated, this was actually repurposed for an Under the Hat spot that aired on Toon Disney, and then again for the animation magic feature on the Beauty and the Beast Platinum Edition DVD, which again, this is also available on, oh goodness, I would assume almost any Bambi, maybe the newer Bambis, at least the Bambi that was re-released in the 90s.
Okay, I
would
have
assume.
no recollection of any of this.
So if you go, so with Bambi, if you were to watch the entire movie, you wait for the credits to end, and after the credits, there is an after feature
Really?
that shows you how they animated.
Is that
the
on like
film.
a lot of Disney
Yeah.
movies?
It's on a few, yeah.
I have never
There are
seen
a lot
that.
of hidden things. in
I've
Disney
always
films.
just like, oh, credits done. Move
No,
on to
if
the
you-
next movie.
Nope. I used to sit there because I used to like when I was a kid. For some reason, I always listened to the credit music. So that's, I think, how I found out about the Bambi one.
That's crazy.
Just like in oh goodness, I think it's Aladdin and the King of Thieves.
Now I've got to go watch a bunch of movies and wait till after the
Yeah.
credits.
We have a lot of VHSs. Just fast forward through the movie.
Dude, I'm
and-
going to. I've not seen any of this.
Yeah. There's a lot of hidden stuff at the end of movies.
Man, where was I?
But clearly not.
Does it say it on the box?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it might. I don't.
I mean, you were
really
a
read.
child. You probably didn't read.
Yeah. I popped the movie and called it good.
Right? That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So find a Bambi DVD or VHS, preferably a 90s one, because I think mine was. We got mine when
there's
it was
one right there.
re-released. I don't know if that's 90s, so I don't know.
Oh,
Right.
we have to
I know
see.
the 90s one. I don't know when it was when it came out of the vault, because the Disney vault messes with everything. So whenever it was re-released out of the vault in the 90s, those ones for sure have it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look because I've never seen that.
Yeah.
And now we have all these people going. Excuse me, I need to go watch the end of credits of this movie. So after he sees that, Doris takes him to the Rainbow Room, which is right next door.
The Rainbow Room.
And I believe they start to hear Humphrey call again, and he's like, "Oh, I'm trying to."
Yeah.
I think this is where he's like, "I'm trying to escape the guide," and she was
Yeah.
like, "Who, Humphrey?"
Yes.
And he was like, "That's his name? Oh, that's funny."
Yep.
So she's like, "Well, he'll never find us in the Rainbow Room."
Yeah.
So she takes him to the Rainbow Room. The Rainbow Room is so cool, and it's where they create all the paints.
Yeah, they
mix all these different paints.
Yeah, it's like a Home Depot paint department on steroids.
It gives me Willy Wonka vibes.
Yes, it does.
It's so cool.
It does.
And as we see the paint getting mixed, we hear a familiar song.
Oh goodness, we do.
We hear Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Hi ho.
Yeah.
Hi ho, hi ho. But it's not with lyrics. It's just
Yeah, and I don't think the instrumentals were the same. I think the instrumentals were a little tweaked.
I thought for the beginning part it sounded exact, and then because they had it elongated for a longer period than what was played in Snow White, that there was some additions or something like that. There was something tweaked a little bit.
Yeah, the sound of it wasn't completely original. You could tell that it was the song, but you could tell that it was adapted for this movie. Yeah, very, very clever.
So Doris takes Robert and shows him the many colors of paint, and also presents him with a completed painting of Bambi.
Aw, Bambi.
And Bambi's on that clear film that we talked about earlier that Donald Duck was on. And it was really kind of cool because they painted it in... We could tell it's Bambi by the color and the outline. But then they flip it over and you could see all the detail lines.
Yes.
So it's like they paint layered and backwards.
Yeah.
So like they paint the like detail parts and then the next layer of color and the next. So cool. A lot, I would think, more challenging than just straight up painting.
Yeah. And the ink and paint department scene that this was actually used for a behind-the-scenes featurette of Walt Disney's Bambi, The Magic Behind the Masterpiece, on, this might be it, the 1997 home video release of Bambi.
Okay.
So this one might be it. So the 1997 version, and I would assume, I would like to say newer,
Yeah, you would hope they would have kept that.
but I don't know. And like I said, I believe that there's also, it's not only the ink and paint department, it's also talking about like the cells
Oh, that's cool.
and the glass and all of that and the camera. So it's the last two departments that we've talked about is featured in that video.
Cool. And for at this time period, Bambi wasn't even out yet.
Nope.
It was going to be released like what, a year
I
from
believe
now?
a year. Yeah.
And so she takes the picture of Bambi on the clear sheet and she shows him, this is how we do it. We layer it on top
Yes.
of the background sheet, which another man separately is painting the background. And as soon as they do that, he's like, oh, it's a cute little fellow. And Bambi, he goes, I want to take him home. I think, I didn't quite understand if he was insinuating, like, put him on his wall, like a stuffed, deer.
Taxidermy deer.
Yeah, because Bambi comes to life and runs away.
Oh yeah, and she's like, she kind of tells him that he's he's afraid of people. and- yeah.
So I'm wondering if that was that comment, if that's what Bambi was like,
That
wait,
could
what?
be.
You're going to take me home and do what?
That could be.
Because I'm pretty sure he just says, oh, I would like to take him home with me.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden Bambi's like, don't think so. So then they move from the paint department to the marquee, or how do we say that again?
I think it was maquette.
Maquette.
I
Making
think it's a
department.
French word. It sounds French.
So they moved to this room and it has a bunch of maquettes or figurines.
yeah.
It just looks like a bunch of statue figurines.
So yeah, they're pretty much. I don't think it's clay.
Well, it could be because she makes the bust out of clay. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Towards the end?
Yeah, but the final thing says that actually is not clay.
What final thing? Oh, like
Wait.
research?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're pretty much just figurines. Is what they are.
They're for characters for all different type of Disney movies.
Yep.
And I paused this part several times to look at them because when you just watch it, they briefly go over it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much there.
Yeah.
So when you first realize what it is, they bring by the huge demon Chernabog from
I didn't catch that. Oh no, I did catch that. Never mind.
from Fantasia.
Yeah.
That's what first triggered me to be like, oh, wait, that's from
Yeah.
Fantasia. I wonder if they're going to have other characters. And they do.
What got me was they zoomed in on that scene. Right before that, what got me was there was as it was very zoomed out, I had noticed one of the wooden clocks from Pinocchio. Before they zoomed in on it, I had noticed that clock, and then I'm like,
That was
oh,
in the
that's
background.
familiar. I know exactly what all of these are when I seen that. And then, yeah, they zoomed in, and that was when I seen Chernabog and a bunch of other figurines, like Zeus. There's Zeus. There's one of the last ones that's by the cuckoo clock from Pinocchio is the Black Centaurette,
Yes.
which he at this point. So in Fantasia, all the Centaurettes, after a certain point, they all have tops on.
Mm-hmm.
Not this figurine.
No.
This figurine does not.
Mm-hmm.
She's a topless zebra, black figurine.
Which, shocker, Robert's like, hello.
Oh yeah, and he takes it.
Yes, he does.
He's like, oh.
So there's Fantasia, for sure.
Yeah. We also see Jiminy Cricket, and it is the little skinny thing that's coming out of the cuckoo clock, little skinny boy. I really wish it was the one that was getting spanked.
Oh yeah,
But it's not. It's not one of the cuckoo clocks that, like, I remember it.
No, but you could tell it's from Pinocchio.
Oh, yeah.
Because of just the artistry.
Yeah, but I really wish it was one of the ones that I always remember, like the little boy getting spanked.
Mm-hmm. So there's Fantasia.
Yep.
There's Pinocchio.
Yes.
There's what else?
There's Dumbo's mom.
Dumbo's mom
And
Mrs. Jumbo.
Yep. Then there's Timothy.
Mm-hmm. The mouse.
There's Pluto.
Yes.
There is a knight, which we will figure out later on is Sir Giles.
Yes. Which at first I was like, what is that knight from?
Yeah. This movie.
It's from literally this movie.
Again, a baby in a high chair, which we will find out is Baby Weems.
Again, from this movie.
Mickey Mouse.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get into some of my favorites that were not even out yet. So we have Aunt Sarah. I hate her.
Yeah, she's a wench.
Aunt Sarah. If you don't know Aunt Sarah. And then there's Cy. And it's Am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I did not know that was their name.
I knew Cy. I did not know Am.
Do you think it's because it's Cy, Am, Ease?
Yep. And they say it in their song, I believe.
Oh.
Which is how I knew
it's the
Cy.
Siamese cats.
They're the
from Lady and the Tramp.
They're mean. If you've never seen Lady and the Tramp,
they're mean cats.
Please watch it, but beware of Aunt Sarah and the two evil cats.
Yeah.
I will never hate on a cat except for these two.
Oh yeah, for sure. Gives Siamese cats a bad name for sure.
Gosh.
So they have Lady and Tramp.
Yep.
And they have what else? Peter. And
For a second, I'm like, who's Peter?
From Peter Pan.
I
Jeez Louise.
Took me a second.
And they have a Tinkerbell. But Tinkerbell has red hair. Did you catch that? It's Tinkerbell, but she has red hair.
Well, you have to also remember that these are probably things that
they were trying out
they
first.
base off of. Yeah.
Because
that was Disney's thing. Like, even with the cuckoo clocks, like, Disney told them, listen, none of this is going to work.
Maybe that's one of the cuckoo clocks that they never used.
Or that could be. No, I thought I seen that cuckoo clock somewhere, though.
Oh.
Like, I swear I've seen that cuckoo clock somewhere.
Really? I don't remember.
Oh, unless it was, there was something else that had cuckoo clocks in it. I'll have to look that one up. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure that if Tinkerbell had red hair, was, well, let's give this fairy red hair, and it probably was one of the things that just didn't work out, so they probably just changed her hair.
Mm-hmm. So they had Peter from Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, Captain Hook, Mr. Smee, who I love him. I did not see John and Michael Darling when I was going through, but when I looked up to see what all characters were there, they said it. John and Michael Darling were there. It's very hard because it pans over everything so fast, so you really have to keep stopping to see all of them. Which was interesting for this. So, like we said, there's characters from Lady and the Tramp. There's characters from Peter Pan. Both of these films were in development at this time, but would be delayed for release of the movies because of World War II, and they were not even completed until 1950s. So there's so many things like that that you get a preview.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And also a flashback for the couple of movies that they had already made. But so many little hidden, this is what's coming next. Which we all know is one of Disney's favorite things to do. It's not something new.
Yep. So they have the elephants from Fantasia. They actually have a couple of them. They have a few characters that I have never seen in anything. Okay, they do have, who is that, Michael and
John and Michael Darling.
They do. They're in here. Yeah, I'm looking at a photo right now. They have
Okay.
them, which these photos we will be posting on this video, so you're probably looking at it right now.
Cool.
Yeah, they were in there.
So he takes the zebra centaur, turns around, and meets one of the
Little thief.
one of the employees who's working on a clay bust of Robert. It's another one of those things where they're making him using the art form.
Oh yeah, which
So when they're making him, he's like, "Oh, this is so clever," and then they put on his nose, and
oh my god, it was so weird. Like watching it, I'm like, what the heck is happening? And then Cal actually made note that it was reverse
It is
videoed.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So that was.
I know. I didn't understand it because she makes it so fast, and it's like weird. Her motions are weird.
Her motions make no sense for what we are seeing and how we concept our noses to be shaped. Makes no sense. And then Cal is the one that he noticed it. He's like, well, that was some reverse film right there. And I'm like, that makes more sense.
I wonder if the reason why they did that is because that artist was not a real artist.
That could be.
And she was an actress.
That could be.
Because what they did was they made the bust ahead of time.
Yeah.
And filmed her taking it apart.
Yeah.
And then played it in reverse.
So that actual maquette of himself, that was actually purchased and is currently owned by Warner Brothers director Chuck Jones.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's photos of
So they
that.
had to like remake it then.
It is probably, or they made two.
Oh, that's true.
So that is an actual prop that there's photos to this day. That thing is still behind. It's in a glass enclosure.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So she makes it, he takes it. So now he has a picture of himself as an elephant. And now he has the bus.
Yeah. So in his hands, he has his coat, his hat, his book, the Reluctant Dragon book, which don't forget this whole thing is the Reluctant Dragon. He has his maquette, and now he has his elephant head picture.
Yes.
So he is, and in his somewhere on his person is the black zebra centaurette.
Oh yeah.
So he's got all this stuff.
All of it. Well, clearly we have a lot to say about the Reluctant Dragon, and we're very interested in going in depth, probably because it's our first time watching it, so we're more focused on all the details than we normally would be.
Yeah.
So we're going to do 2 parts for this movie, and we're going to have our part 1, and want you to stay tuned for our part 2 where we finish up the ending of the Reluctant Dragon. So thank you for listening. If you haven't already, please subscribe and click the bell so you can be notified each time we post. For additional content, find us on Patreon, Facebook, and Instagram. And don't forget, beauty is found within.